Hello, you gorgeous teacher. If you're new, you are most welcome to my podcast. If you're not new, welcome back. I just want to hijack this episode with a little bit of housekeeping. So if you follow me on Instagram, you will have noticed that I've started posting some videos, and I want to do the same thing for Facebook because not everybody loves Instagram. So if you go to my Everything EFL podcast page and like or follow it, I can then invite you onto my Everything EFL teacher development page. Now, I will be posting the same things as I do on Instagram. These are video tips, things that I do in class or things that I've done in class that I've tried out. It might be a lesson plan. It might be a question that I pose to you, the lovely teacher, so that you can have a little discussion and share your own ideas and tips with each other. The whole idea is to build community. I said this before, there's so many lovely people and so many lovely teachers on Instagram and Facebook who want to support you, who want to be there for you, and that you can lean on and get inspired by. So that's the whole idea of this community that I'm trying to create. Anyway, without further ado, here is an interview that I recorded in January with the lovely Zdenek Lukas. Enjoy! Hi, this is Erin, and welcome to Everything EFL, my little podcast about English language teaching and other teachy stuff too. Credit and honourable mentions will be given during the episode or in the show notes. Let's crack on. So it's nice to meet a fellow board game enthusiast. Zdenek Lukas, welcome.
Hello, it's a pleasure to be here. Thanks for inviting me, Erin.
Why have I invited you?
I think you have invited me to talk about board games, and also because I happen to be an English teacher as well.
Yep, that'll do it. Why don't you just tell the listeners a little bit about yourself first so they know who they're talking to?
Okay, so I'm an English teacher from the Czech Republic, and I've been teaching English for more than 10 years now. I'm CELTA and Delta qualified, and I have a master's degree. And for the past, let's say, 5-6 years, I've been using board games in my classes.
Brilliant. And we're going to delve into that in a little bit later. You're going to tell us about the 5 games that you think would be very useful to share. Before we do that, though, let's take it in turns talking about why we personally find board games beneficial. Do you want to go first?
Yeah, sure. So I think one of the ways you could use board games, or why they're beneficial, is that you can use them as a reward after a difficult test, or at the end of the week, or at the end of the course. So I think that's one way to do it. It's kind of freestyle, but I think you can do it like that.
I love that. I would use them because they're engaging and interactive, and the students don't necessarily feel like they're learning, which means it decreases stress.
Absolutely. I would also use them to practice specific grammar points. For example, modal verbs for deduction. In a lot of games, you have to deduce, or you have to find the murderer, and therefore, I think those games require you to use that kind of language. So they're a brilliant way to do some freer practice.
Absolutely. And speaking of language, you can learn so much new vocabulary from a board game, depending on the context, and also just little things like it's your turn, throw the dice, and little bits and pieces like that.
Exactly. And I also want to say that I love building lessons around board games, around authentic board games, because it's like a the task-based approach, which, as you know well, is quite well-established method and very well respected. You know, you have a meaningful task, and you pre-teach some vocabulary, and then Bob's your uncle. You know, your students end up doing something really fun and meaningful, and yeah.
Lovely. I also love the kinesthetic quality of games. Like, I haven't met a single student, no matter how old or young they are, that don't like manipulating the counters, the cards, the dice, moving things around.
Yeah, I think your students will appreciate the fact that you're doing something different. You know, not all teachers do this kind of thing. So it's great for building rapport and community building, and just, you know, generally will improve the atmosphere in the classroom.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think also you're going to find students who've never encountered that kind of game in a learning environment before, which is just a bonus, really.
Yep.
competitiveness, like there's that element of competition which most students respond to quite well.
I agree. And if this is a problem, because, you could have some sore losers or games that sort of like divide you, you have winners and losers. There are always a lot of co-op games, cooperative games, which are brilliant as well. So you always have a choice.
Brilliant. Yeah. I mean, and that's the thing as well. Like there are so many out there. And even if you're going to stick to the kind of EFL board games where you're downloading something online from ISL Collective that's practice the past simple or the second conditional, there are so many out there. And if you want to create your own, there are templates. So you just can't go wrong, really.
Yeah, I agree. And there's more. I think board games are great for reviewing vocabulary as well, especially if you choose some specific ones, which I may talk about later on. But you can simply, some of them are kind of modular, let's say, or flexible enough so that you can even create your own cards and use the rest of the game, all the components, and then you add your own cards with the target vocabulary that you need.
That's great. Adaptability, always good.
Yep.
Any more?
I thought sometimes you can link the games thematically with what you're doing. Let's say you're doing a unit about, I don't know, global problems. So certain games have the same kind of theme, and I think this is a way to link it to what you're doing as well.
That's lovely.
Because you're going to end up having similar vocabulary there as well. So it's kind of logical, if you ask me.
Yeah, no, that's fun. That's a fantastic point. Brilliant. Okay, so let's crack on to your 5 games that tell me why you've chosen these particular 5 games first.
Okay, so I chose these 5 games, first of all, because I believe they are all great for learning English with. Not all board games are suitable for that. So you always have to think about it first before you use the game. And then I thought I would represent different kind of genres as well, different kind of games. So this list is not necessarily a list of my top 5 games ever, but I think all these games work really well in the English language classroom, and I have used them with great success.
Great. Well, I can't wait to hear them. So yeah, give us your first one.
All right. So my first game on the list is Snake Oil.
Okay.
It's a game. It's a card game, a simple card game, which I would use for teaching how to make a sales pitch. So it's kind of suitable for business English, and you can also teach compound nouns through it. So in this game, you have got 6 cards in your hand, and each round, one player is a buyer, let's say a customer, and everyone else in that group is a seller. And each of the sellers has to come up with a product to sell to the customer. So let's say the customer could be a politician, or a clown, or a castaway. Anyone, pretty much anyone, really. And with your 6 cards, so each card represents one word, and with your six cards, you have to create a compound noun that is a product. So it's something really weird most of the time, and then you have to pitch this product to the person that is trying to buy. And then so everyone has their turn, and then the customer chooses the most suitable product, not necessarily based on your English, the English of the sellers, but just how suitable it is for the customer. Really great game and a lot of fun.
So can you just give me an example of some of the products that your students have had to try and pitch in the past, the compound nouns? Okay,
well, let's imagine the politician, okay? And there's a gun, and then love. You might have, like, sometimes these nouns are abstract nouns, sometimes they're concrete nouns. So
a love gun.
You could create something like, what were the 2 words? Love and gun. Yeah, so it would be like love gun.
Yeah.
Yeah, so on this, I would teach the fact that the second noun is the one that's sort of more important, that the first noun only describes the second one. Also, I would teach the pronunciation. So love gun. So I'm trying to pitch the love gun to the politician. So I would say something like, I don't know, as a politician, everybody hates you. Journalists ask you all weird questions, so you need more love. And it's kind of your secret weapon. anything you say, really. It's going to end up being a little bit weird always, but it's great.
That's
Great fun.
fantastic. Really good for students' creativity. I love that.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Next, code names. So this is a classic. It's a party game with words, and you could teach almost anything through this. In this game, you have got 25 cards laid out on the table. Also, by the way, you can play this online these days if you go to codenames.game, a fantastic site to do that online. As you have 25 cards on the table, you divide your students into 2 teams, the red team, the blue team, and then each of these teams has to choose their leader. In this game, it's called a spy master. Both spy masters of these teams have information about which cards belong to which team.
Okay.
Now, every other player has no clue, and it's the job of the spy masters to give clues to their team. For example, if you see that your words are, let's say, cat, dog, and wings, then you would give a clue animals 3. Okay, you would give a clue animals 3. So the number 3 means that the clue is referring to 3 cards, and so it's about associations, right? It's about what you imagine behind that word. So this is good for teaching homonyms as well, and sense relations and hypernyms and all that. And then your team has to discuss what these clues are pointing to. Sometimes you end up making mistakes and you accidentally give a point to the opponent. It's not so easy. It's usually easier to just give a clue about just one card, but the team who guesses all their cards first is the winning team.
I love that, because it's not just like, you're not just recalling vocabulary. You're not just going, this is an animal, but it's like you're giving little clues, and you have to think just a little bit deeper to get the answer. So I really, really like that idea. Lovely.
Yeah. And I would also use it for teaching functional language, because while the spy master doesn't get to talk at all, everyone else in their team, they can discuss what they think the clue is referring to. So it's brilliant for teaching language, for agreeing, disagreeing, interrupting, making a point, language for convincing, and even you could even teach some grammar through it, like modal verbs for speculating and things like that.
Lovely. Really good.
Okay, my next game is called The Resistance. And in this game, you are given a secret role card at the beginning, and you will end up either on the team of the bad guys or on the team of the good guys. Now, if you are one of the bad guys in this game, it's the spies, and everyone else is I can't remember what they are, but let's say they are the good guys. Yeah.
Yeah.
At the beginning, everybody has to close their eyes, and the spies have to open their eyes so they will see who the other spies are. Then they close their eyes, and then everybody opens their eyes. So if you are a spy, you have to pretend that you are not. You have to lie to everybody throughout the game. If you are not a spy, it's your job to find out people you can trust and convince everyone else that you are not a spy. So you can imagine it's a lot of fun and a lot of back and forth, and people, the students, they really forget they are learning when they are doing this. And I would definitely use this for teaching modal verbs, for deduction. Everyone is involved. Of course, the introverts might talk a little bit less, but the game will push them to get involved as well. So amazing game. It could also be played by up to 10 people at one time.
Great.
Yeah. My next game is called Where Words. Where Words is a combination of a good old 20 questions game, which I'm sure you're familiar with. It's the kind of game where you think of a word and everyone else is asking you questions, usually yes/no questions. Is this a living thing?
Yeah.
Is this a person? Is he dead? Is she or he dead, alive? And then all you can do is just say yes, no, I don't know. And then as you narrow down the options, finally somebody guesses the word, right? This game, and also it's kind of a social deduction game as well. So is that also, there's an app that comes with this game, and it's it's amazing for teaching vocabulary, any kind of vocabulary, because you can even make your own deck in this app. So anything you're teaching, anything at all, let's say you're teaching language for crime, you just enter your, I don't know, 10 items of vocabulary that you want the students to practice, to review, and the app will choose one of those words to, will choose one of those words to play with.
And how do the students access that app? Do they all have it on their phones, or do you just have it?
No, all you need is just one phone, and it's in the middle of the table, and the app will call out the roles at night. So it's everybody will go to sleep, and the app will say, Maya, wake up and look at the word. And then there is a seer. So at some point, the seer has to wake up. The werewolves have to wake up and look at the word. And yeah, that's it.
Great.
You reduce your teacher talking time as well, because it's the app talking, not you.
Always a bonus.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially if the inspection comes along, right?
Yeah. Brilliant. And your last one?
My last one is arguably the best game, called Debatable. It is the best game for teaching English, in my opinion, because you can do so much with this, and it's very simple to get into. And in this game, one person has to choose, one person draws a card from the question cards, and 5 questions on each card. For example, can a man without a beard be a hipster? Should glasses be free for those who need them?
Yes.
Is it okay for men to wear skirts? Or are some children born evil? A lot of questions.
Like it.
Yeah, some of them are like very generic. Some of them are kind of even slightly controversial.
Yeah.
But you choose one of these questions, and then you choose 2 people who will be debating or arguing. Imagine a chat show, a political chat show, 2 politicians. And so you say, you're going to be arguing for, and you are going to be arguing against. Yeah. So if we take one of those examples, what was one of the examples? Are some children born evil? So you're going to say that they are, and you have to justify it. And you're going to say that they aren't. So if I did this in the class, I would possibly give my students more time to prepare. I would give them, but not too much, because then everybody else is kind of waiting. So let's say 1 minute, think about this for 1 minute, and then it's happening. So you as the moderator, you can obviously, if someone is talking too much, if someone is dominating, you can sort of tell them to let the other person talk. But at the end of the day, they can interrupt each other as well. And there's a twist to this game as well, because before you take your turn, before this debate starts, you also draw 2 strategy cards, and each of these 2 strategy cards contains 4 strategies, and you have to choose 1 strategy from each card. Now, this strategy is like a additional rule that you have to follow when you have your turn. It's hilarious, because it could be something like, you can't keep your eyes open, or insults are your best friends, or use baby voice, or it's not your responsibility, or make bad jokes as a distraction. So imagine you're talking about a serious topic, you're trying to justify whatever point you're making, and then you also have to do this in the process. And when this ends, I think there's a sand clock that comes with the game. I think it's the debate is just 2 minutes, I think. And then before the people vote who they think won the debate, the strategy cards are revealed, and everyone sort of decides whether they were followed.
I see.
Yeah, so that could influence your vote as well, because you should really follow your strategies. But this is an amazing game, because you can teach so much through this. Like, it's incredible how many options you have, especially when it comes to functional language.
Yeah.
So again, it could be language for agreeing, language for presenting an argument. I think you could even link this with a writing task easily, because if you have a question like that, often it's a question that could have different viewpoints. So yeah, this game, I can't praise it enough, honestly, and it's not that expensive. It's called Debatable. Once again, it's called Debatable, and it's not debatable at all that this game is Brilliant.
Good one. I love that. And I mean, like, if you're cheap like me, you could always make your own version of it, laminate them, stuff like that.
Yeah.
And to that point, if you are cheap like me,
It-
you could scour charity shops for loads of different board games. I've got like 3 boxes of them. I've just bought them all. I've got like loads of Scrabble games, little word games, debate games, things like that.
yeah.
There's so much stuff you can get from charity shops and secondhand shops. And yeah, I just thought those ideas were really good. And I think you're developing lessons around them is such a brilliant idea. Like you say, you can accomplish so much just from one game.
Yeah, totally. Like, of course, it helps that I'm also kind of a board game geek. Yeah, so I understand the games. I've played them many times with my friends, let's say. So, and I always, whenever I'm buying new games or before I choose to use them in the class, I always have a think like, how could I use this game?
Yeah.
How would it be appropriate and natural to use the game? Is this suitable for my level? Is this suitable for this age group? Do they have the attention span for it? Is this easy to teach? You have to ask yourself all these questions. It really does help, and then make the right decision.
Yeah. I do exactly the same thing every time I hear a song on the radio. Can I use this? Who can I use this with? Oh no, there's loads of bad language. That's not going to work. That's what usually
Yeah.
stops it. Brilliant. Thank you so much. Where can people find you on social media?
Okay, well, the easiest way to explain this is just to say that go to my website, teachesdenek.com. Zdenek, that's my first name. It's spelled as Zdenek, teachesdenek.com. And on my homepage, you will find all these social media icons like Instagram, then Facebook, Discord, and all that. And you can just choose wherever you want and follow me there. And you can also learn more about my English through board games online course if you want.
And you also have a podcast of your own, do you not?
I do, although it's not related to board games. I do have a podcast called Zdenek's English Podcast, which is a podcast for English learners. I'd say it's more suitable for higher levels, or you should be at least B1 to be able to follow it, I guess.
Okay. And what kind of things do you talk about on it?
Anything you can imagine. I've talked about board games a lot there, of course, but it could be anything really.
Great. Thank you. All right. Well, everything that we've talked about today, links and references will be included on the show notes, including Zdenek's website. So if you didn't catch all of it, don't worry about it. Thank you very much for your time, Zdenek. I really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me, Erin, and good luck with the podcast, because I think it's a great thing and it helps a lot of teachers around the world.
Thank you very much.
If you enjoyed this episode and you would like to follow me on social media, please follow Everything EFL Pod on Facebook or Instagram. I'm also on LinkedIn under my real name, Erin O'Byrne. If you fancy repaying me for a job well done, you could leave a very kind-worded review on Spotify or Apple. This would help push me up the ratings. Also, if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button so I can magically appear in your podcast player every Monday, or 3 Mondays a month anyway. Girls got to rest, you know. Finally, and most importantly, you can share this episode with a colleague who you think will enjoy it, or stick it on your social media for everybody to enjoy. Share the love, guys. Bye. Thank you so much for listening. This podcast is free and always will be, so if you feel like giving something back, you can do one of the following. You can subscribe to the podcast on your preferred platform, spare a few minutes and write me a 5-star review on Apple or Spotify, follow Everything EFL on Instagram, Facebook or Twitter, and engage with me and my followers. If you would like to contact me, my email is in the show notes. Finally, and most importantly, share this episode on social media and tell your colleagues. Share the love. Bye.